strategist and a policy advisor, a member and advisor to multiple global economic bodies and international entities. Currently, he's also serving as vice chairman of the AAOIFI Education Board. He has also published over 50 articles in prestigious economic and financial journals and has delivered over 100 policy talks, keynotes, expert sessions, and high-level presentations. He will be talking with us today on the new age significance of social and philanthropy finance. So thank you very much, Muhiz.
Thank you very much, dear Emma. First of all, Assalamu alaikum to all of you, and good evening, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are, and extremely blessed and feel elated to sharing this virtual platform with a number of these staunch experts whom we have grown learning from and listening to. And I was thoroughly impressed by what Dr. Hussain was touching on, the aspects that were part of his speech, the context that he was carrying. It makes my work a little more easier, because I definitely would want to build on what he has just submitted in a notion or in a way or in a manner that will add more strength and more efficacy to what he has just referred to, and all the solutions that he has referred to in his speech. And I'm not as bright as what Dr. Hussain or as the other panelists could be. And I'm not as experienced or as learned, but to a simple-minded guy like me, I want to pitch what I have to say in this very important platform, and with getting a very, very important theme, is the fact that, we have to, I think it's about time that we have to now think towards social finance and philanthropy in an absolutely new normal or a new age manner. Because the demands of the current situation, health-wise, economy-wise, finance-wise, poverty alleviation-wise, they have been, touched up a notch given the current scenarios. And I think the role of social finance or philanthropy has to be not only be re-understood and re-signified, but it has to be revamped vis-a-vis its application as well. And as rightly submitted by our great Dr. Hussain, again, I'm submitting that made my work a little more easier, because some of the points that he has already submitted, particularly what he is doing with his team at a local and international level vis-a-vis the very unique and very applicable platform that they're trying to come up with, technology-driven platform, all on the notions of social and philanthropy finance. One of the key things that he has submitted, and that platform is going to address, is economic empowerment through social finance. This aspect is extremely important, because the current 101 understanding and application of whatever efficacy or whatever delivery the social finance is being resorted to, you would see, and data shows all over the world, including the Islamic and the non-Islamic sections of the world, you would see that most of the philanthropy is for 101, either consumption smoothing, helping each other in need time, or educational finance, healthcare, and all of this. No doubt these are very, very important issues to be addressed with, particularly with social finance. But at the end of the day, the situation is not only not getting better, but it's getting more and more worse. I was looking at some data recently, and very incredible international data. They were sharing, some of the poverty inclusions, or the poverty part of the world that we live in. They were analyzing the pre-COVID poverty scenario, during COVID, and then post-COVID poverty scenario. And of course, COVID being an exacerbating factor, poverty level is only going to increase as a minimum of 670 more million people coming into this poverty circle. So what we have seen is, given what Dr. Hussain has submitted, given that we know that social finance and philanthropic finance has its own inborn potency, we have seen that as of now, as of 2020, as we speak, the potency has not been able to shine itself as per its potential. And to me, the only reason why it is yet to reach its potential vis-a-vis its efficacy and potency is the fact that the targeting, the end result of all these social and philanthropy-based schemes have not been correctly pointed at. The target should only be one-liner or a bottom line target is about economic empowerment of the destitute and the deficient sector. It is not only consumption smoothing. It is not only educational financing. It is not only healthcare support. It is not only similar one-on-one support, but only to support for economic empowerment. Because I tell you something, if we do not target social finance for the economic empowerment in whatever ways or angles that we utilize it for, new age or normal and whatever, you are just kicking the can down the road for further. Not only you're kicking the can, but you're not teaching the people how to fish, rather than just giving them the fish so that they can eat. And the next year, the same people, if not more people, or a more poverty-driven supply is ready for you to demand the same amount of social finance. And of course, what to talk about the malfunctioning in distribution of all these social financial funds. And even after distribution, some of the funds even go left over. All of these scenarios point to one vacuum that I believe is missing, that the targeting of the whole schemes and the whole notion, the whole philosophy of social finance has to be re-understood, and the targeting and end results has to change to address only one agenda, that is economically empower the destitute and the deficient unit who is in need of such support. Because of this lack of clear one-liner targeting, and the targets are spread in 15, 20 dimensions, situation not only remains the same, but it worsens. And every year, as I mentioned, more people are added into the poverty circle, and on top of it, the COVID-19 situation and such black swan events. Also note that we are already in an era that we are not only facing black swan events, we are also, which are economical and non-economical, we are also now at a verge of facing what I call as green swan events. And these green swan events, ladies and gentlemen, are related directly to the climate change issues, the environmental fiasco that the world is heading to, if not already reached at that point. Remember, if not addressed, these green swan issues are much more devastating when combined with the black swan issues. If not by itself, you're going to sooner or later face, right now we see economical refugees or war refugees. Sooner or later in the 5 or 10 years time, if things are not proactively addressed in new age manners and not targeted to be addressed in a new age manner, as I've been mentioning, you will also have a third new category of something we call as climate refugees. This is a very dire scenario where now the normal 101 or the normal traditional solutions, where government grants is one way out, where taxes are one way out, where other similar traditional means and modes are one way out to try and address this solution, we have seen over the decades, in fact, over hundreds and hundreds of years, no matter how much economically rich, institutionally rich the country is, particularly in a time which is intensely globalized and you're living in a very multipolar economic environment, all those traditional means, even if they are delivered via new age technology solution, because they are traditional, you just renovate them in their delivery mechanism by using technology in it and thinking that you're innovating, you will always remain unable to address poverty alleviation and economic empowerment, income and wealth maldistribution, and so many other similar affairs. So the need of the hour is, and of course, I must also tell you that there is a plausible hypothesis that is there these days in the world, that if you want to compare commercial finance versus the social finance, a hypothesis is, and somebody as a master's or a PhD student should focus on this and take it as a research topic, hypothesis is that you may, given the same apparatus, given the same lab conditions, you would see that social finance might as well have been able to address human development, poverty alleviation, and helping the destitute in so many ways much more vociferously and much more effectively as compared to normal or commercial finance. This is what the hypothesis is, and it seems very plausible, and research has to be done to vindicate that. This is why I think that looking at social finance, on top of it, how it can contribute and it drives itself from the social capital notions and the rate of return of the social sector or the social capital, which the normal financial models do not address. This is the extra advantage of resorting more towards understanding and then implementation of social finance with new targeting of it. I think this would open a much more able door or modes of solution to address the current scenarios pre, post, or during COVID-19. And as Dr. Hussain has very rightly pointed out, you see, we have to understand that wealth management is a very comprehensive discipline. But the problem is, whenever we have come to read or study or understand or implement wealth management, we have only looked at the creation of wealth side rather than the distribution and redistribution of wealth management side. This is where notions like Islamic finance or even non-Islamic finance can gain a lot of advantage or pay heed to it, where now I think reorientation has to be made vis-a-vis our focuses too, where before implementing the new age understanding and then the usage of social finance with new targeting of it, we have to then first open up our eyes and our minds towards seriously taking the other side of wealth management, that is wealth management vis-a-vis distribution and redistribution of the wealth that you have already created. Education systems, financial sector, economic sectors are so glued and so much occupied with the wealth creating first part of the wealth management that little, if at all, is done on refurbishing, refabricating, renovating, or innovating, or refocusing our energies to consider the potency of the wealth management or Islamic redistributive wealth management scheme. So I think it's about time that we have to take these schemes very, very importantly, understand them in a new way, understand and implement them in a new way, particularly for the younger audience who are going to take the lead and who are going to be torchbearers from 2020 onwards, be it the Islamic models or the non-Islamic models. I was seeing again some wonderful reports that the Islamic Research and Training Institute that publishes every year on Islamic social finance, since Dr. Hussain has touched on these notions, and under the Islamic Development Bank, and Dr. Dar and other folks are very well aware of it. One of the startling figures and startling commonalities in all those reports that have surveyed majority of the Muslim, non-Muslim entities that are economically and population-wise powerhouse, we have seen that modes or social financing or philanthropy modes, mainly Waqf, Zakah, or Islamic microfinance, not only they are focused totally on only these three modes, but the implementation or application of these three modes is in a very limited scenario. So you're either using these modes to refurbish the religious buildings or the healthcare sector or similar, end products. But what is missing is, what I realized is through those reports, the beautiful research reports, is that very little, if at all, is being addressed to how to use all of these social financial modes, particularly the waqfs and the zakahs and the microfinancial modes, towards economic empowerment. For example, financing research and innovation. For example, financing SME or entrepreneurship, which is the need of the hour. In so many countries, particularly countries like Oman, who are strapped in terms of financial crisis, fiscal deficits, oil price crunch, and so on and so forth, with the plans of economic diversification. So you have to look at these ideas in a very new age manner to ensure that you have not only understood them, but then applied them in much more effective manner only to serve economic empowerment. As I mentioned, the only thing that can help achieve the potential of social financing, be it even if it's driven through technology, if they are only and directly targeted to economic empowerment. Because if you economically empower people, they take care of so many other issues by themselves. if you don't economically empower them and try and help them in their subsidiary or peripheral issues like consumption smoothing, like getting married, like clearing of their debt, and so many other secondary solutions, at the end of the day, very next year, they would be ready to come and ask for the same funding again. And this has been happening day in and day out every time. And this is why these modes are not being able to address poverty alleviation the way we expect them to, if at all poverty is increasing. So it's about time to understand them in a new age manner, reorient their targeting and target them only for economic empowerment. I think this would be the best way forward in seeing their efficacy and effectiveness in what their potentials are. It's about time that, I hear a number of these notions, the SDGs, the value-based intermediations, the responsible investments, the socially responsible, the blue or green economy, even circular economy. So many funky stuff comes out every day almost, and more or less everything is trying to address the same thing with different nomenclatures. But hang on, social finance from over 1400 years ago, if you talk about the Islamic social finance, has been trying to address simultaneously with commercial finance the same ideas, the same concept, and the same end result. So it doesn't matter what nomenclature you carry for it, only and unless if it is not targeted to classically, economically empowering the deficit unit or the recipients. I don't think, social finance will perform any differently, even if it's run through the technology solutions. And I have this worry that if not understood and if not targeted well, and if implemented through these mumbo jumbo jargons or very fancy jargons of, I don't have anything against these jargons, but all these VBIs and green economies, the blue economies, etc., circular economies, etc., which broadly speaking are halal economy notions, if folks are in line with the halal economy in this panel and in the audience. My worry is if it is not targeted or implemented